Already become the most expensive non-presidential elections in American history. And there are still a few more weeks to spend. More than $5 billion has been raised at this point, going to federal, state, and local campaigns. Races in the Sunshine State are a big part of those numbers. Our Washington, D.C. Bureau reporter Samantha-Jo has been looking through Federal Elections Commission filings. What do they tell us at this point in the cycle, Samantha-Jo?
Well, Tammy, the fight for Florida's U.S. Senate seat is generating a historic onslaught of cash. In terms of the amount of money raised, the Sunshine State comes in second, only trailing Texas. But Florida has the most expensive Senate race when you look at the amount of money that has already been spent.
In the final weeks of the election cycle, the campaign cash is flowing.
Florida is one of the hottest races in the country. It's one of the most contested races in the country.
The evidence, the latest campaign finance report. The two candidates raised a combined $79 million. Governor Rick Scott has spent almost 3 times as much as Senator Bill Nelson, shelling out $18 million of his own money in the last 3 months alone.
You can spend your money any which way you want to. You can hire a staff. You can pretty much tailor your own campaign and not be dependent whims of donors.
The governor, whose estimated worth is about $150 million, has now pumped more than $38 million into his campaign since entering the race in April. It's a battle-tested strategy he tapped into twice before. But this time around, experts say it might not work.
Statistics show that it's oftentimes more likely that you lose as opposed to win when you're running at the federal level.
In addition, outside groups have already spent $43 million in the Florida Senate race, fueling waves of television commercials, stacks of campaign mailers, and other support in an attempt to influence voters. Senator Nelson continues to be the biggest beneficiary of that cash.
It's important in politics to make a great first impression. It's also important in politics to make a great final impression, and that's what you see so often in tight races like this.
Bill Nelson is entering the final phase of this race with more campaign cash on hand. He has about $8.6 million in the bank, and that is compared to Scott's $2 million. But it is important to remember that Scott's personal contributions could continue. We're going to keep a close eye on that next campaign finance report out October 25th. For now, we're live on Capitol Hill. Samantha-Jo, Spectrum.